Street Baptist Church was a meeting place. Now, this is where all that subversive activity took place. This is when you talked about the marching, and if we were going to do it, and how long we were going to do it, and to what street, and back again, and the bus boycotts. And this is where all of that, the organizing happened. Because of that, because of political hubris, sticks of dynamite were planted under the steps of the 16th Street Baptist Church on Sunday morning. And they detonated just as Sunday school had gotten underway. There were 26 young people in Sunday school, and all of them were maimed, which is to say, eyes blown out of sockets, limbs lost, minds lost. 4 little girls were killed that day. This is one of the stories that I inherited from my mother when I was young. She told me about it. I think she walked around with it, and I think she couldn't reconcile it, and I certainly couldn't. The second she told me, I carried it in my body every day. I couldn't get over it, to be honest with you. Something about little girls being blown up at church leaves a bad taste in one's mouth. So I was finally able to write about it a couple years ago, a year ago. I'm really glad that I could, finally. And this poem is for the 4 little girls who died. I very rarely write with an agenda. I think there is one in this poem. I didn't write with it, but I'm reading with it. And it's simply this. I want these girls to matter to you. If I'm introducing you to the story for the first time, just lean into it and stay in your body the whole time. I want them to matter to you. And I want you to recognize that mechanism is at work still. The function of it is at work still. If you care about them, then you'll care about it all. So I do have that agenda, and I want to be transparent about that. This is Birmingham Sunday. I don't know what came down first. A church is not made for falling in on itself. You don't build them prepared for destruction. You build them thinking about the praise shout, the hand clap, the open-mouthed communion, how many choir members can fit in the pulpit, the pancake breakfast you're going to have in the basement, the stained glass Jesus. Even in Birmingham, Alabama, 1963, when you had to account for dynamite, for waterlogged protest marchers blown clean off their feet, they fell like blood-torn right angles to foaming at the mouth police dogs, billy clubs, batons. If you were a colored girl in Birmingham, you knew how to duck, how to shrink, how to be a misspelled word, squelch down the sugar-softened press and curl perkiness. Their silence was so loud, their teeth a locked gate, their mouths held annual sit-ins for their flame-red throats, the sizzle and spill of every unsaid thing. And it's hard to be that still with all that starshine and playground shimmy and the stretch of their bones, but on Sundays they get it near right. The mornings roll out in hotcakes and black coffee. Daddy is a baritone down the hall singing hymns. Mama is fixing his tithe and yelling about, get in here and eat before this food gets cold. And we get to wear our hair down. It's going to be curled around our ears and stopped with ribbon. And the wild hunger of Jim Crow can't find you in church. So you're scooting around the kitchen in your pretty white shoes without a single scuff, and your sister gets to dab a little rouge on her cheeks, but just on Sundays, just on Sundays. And the car ride. The car ride is a sovereign floating joy. Because your mama can sing, and she's rolling that pretty bell tinkle soprano out, and you're picking up the chorus where you can, and though you have to keep tugging at your slip so that it does not dip below your dress, you are everything. In that moment, everything new and shiny that God has ever loved, and deep and high in your sometime colored girl loveliness, because Jim Crow does not seek you in church. I don't know what came down first. When the choir was singing, I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. And you were a wet giggle with your sister in Sunday school. The sky came down, smothered everything. Ceiling tiles flew like occasional birds, smacked the walls and smoldered, skulls and incandescent smoke, a wild death for a young girl, a valley of broken jawbone, baby teeth scattered like confetti, a stony, vexing sleep. The sun, crazy, was shining anyway. Refugee clergy digging through the rubble, finding tiny limbs, and the world was a singed skirt. I don't know what came loose first, but it all came loose. Didn't it, Addie and Denise? Didn't it, Cynthia? Didn't it, Carol? Didn't it drop winter in? Didn't it catch and keep the sky snatched low by the terrible clang of dynamite? Nobody should offer you a heaven when you hadn't even had your period yet, or been to your first dance, or had the chance to gossip about it the next day, and nobody can refresh your bones. Your mama will never be the woman who can smile with all her teeth, because somebody lifted a sheet, and underneath it was your bomb-blasted body, and in that moment the world broke open and swallowed her whole. Things fall apart. Center will not hold. But do you hear that? Just over all that ugly, do you hear that? Past the thunder crack of grief and go down Moses, do you hear that? Can't no homemade detonated bomb touch it. Just down the street, there's still rough and tumble tag and tea parties. Some little girl is still lemon cookie, hula hoop, and hopscotch wonderful, twirling around in her mama's old stitched and restitched skirt, and she will go to church on Sunday singing, I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. And she'll mean it.